Hi, I'm Daphne Richards, and this is Agave. Our question this week comes from our Facebook page and is about century plants. Does it really take them 100 years to bloom? This simple question has a very simple answer: no. Okay, a little more detail. Century plants do take a very long time to bloom, but it's far less than a century. It's more like a decade or two, and usually somewhere between 10 and 30 years. Unlike most plants, which you probably want to bloom immediately and year after year, this is one that you want to wait as long as possible to bloom, since once it does, the main plant will die. And while there are few things more beautiful than a century plant in bloom, there are few things uglier than a dead one. As soon as the century plants and other agaves around town start blooming, I get inundated with calls from frantic people who know enough about agaves to panic at the first sight of its delicate little floral bud. Everyone wants to know if they can stop this process and keep the parent plant alive. And unfortunately, the answer to this question is also no. This is one area of nature that man has yet to figure out how to tame, so you should just enjoy that beautiful bloom stalk and it will be striking, getting up to 30 feet tall. These bloom stalks can actually be hazardous, since as they grow and mature, the mother plant is slowly dying, giving that lanky bloom stalk less stability with each passing day. Eventually, if you don't remove the plant first, the top-heavy bloom stalk will topple over and rip the dead agave out of the ground, which could make for quite a mess and even some damage to surrounding structures if you aren't careful. Some people even stake the bloom stalk to balance its weight. If you'd like, you can collect the seeds from your agave and replant them. But even before flowering, you should have noticed some little baby plants around the mother plant. These plantlets are basically little clones and can be dug up and planted in other areas of your landscape or placed in containers so that you'll have a replacement for that spot when the original plant dies. Since we had such a great agave question this week, we chose to make agaves our plants of the week. There are many great species to choose from, especially as more people begin to look for low water requiring plants in our continued drought. Like the century plant, most agaves take a while to bloom. They're also monocarpic, meaning that they die after blooming. But even so, they're well worth the effort, especially in a low-water landscape. Most agaves have stiff, spiny-tipped leaves that should be avoided, but some, like the squid agave, have soft, droopy leaves, which aren't so lethal. They should all be planted in very well-drained soil, so if you have heavy clay and you can't change that, you should choose other low-water plants. If you can amend the planting area, replace the clay with very sandy soil, mixed with coarser, decomposed granite. And consider building bermed areas so that drainage is increased even more with the elevation. Also, be sure to know the origin of your agave choice. Some agaves are native to central Texas and can take our occasional cold winters just fine. Agaves that are native to the Chihuahuan Desert would also be good for our area, since their native region has cold winters. But agaves native to the Sonoran Desert of southern Arizona are not accustomed to the cold that we have here and should be protected in winter. You should also take care with the ultimate size of your chosen agave. The century plant is one of the larger ones, getting up to 6 feet tall without the bloom stalk and 10 feet wide. But another great agave, Queen Victoria, stays quite small, less than 2 feet tall and wide. To do in your garden this week, the ground is finally warm enough to plant warm season bulbs like caladium, crinum, and daylilies. And if you have any warm season bulbs in the ground, now's also a great time to divide and transplant them. We'd love to hear from you, so please visit klru.org/ctg to send us your questions or plants of the week from your garden.